2023 mid-month meeting of the Ducktown Council. Today we only have one item agenda, that's the goals planning session. At this time I'd like to turn it over to our town manager, Drew Havens.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Teacher. Wow. I got nothing for that. Thanks, though. Teacher. So, similar to what we did last year, we want to pick your brains a little bit. So as we're going into the fiscal 24 budget preparation process, we want to take a little bit of your time to hear from you what your goals are. And we'll talk a little bit about goals, how we set them, what we do with them, and how what we do today is going to differ a little bit from what you did during the retreat time you spent with Tyler last year. So we're going to start with the vision. So you had Vision 2027, as you recall, that we changed that into Vision 2032. This is not the official graphic. This is just something that a non-graphic person put together, me. Kay is going to make this look a whole lot prettier. Not going to try to read this to anybody in the room, but I think it's important to talk through each one of the 6 strategic pillars to kind of frame where we are now, and then we're going to work a little bit lower in altitude. So you have 6 pillars. I'm not going to read all this text to you because you're very familiar with it, having developed it with Tyler in your session. But just some of the bigger themes of these. So it's Duck in Our Village is the first of these. In this one, I've highlighted some things. So it talks about the fabric of our community. So, and then also the duck experience. And we talk about that internally in our core values that the staff reflects on, the SOAR values that we talk to you about. One of the things we talk about there is that the staff are curators of the duck experience. So we're responsible for kind of maintaining that experience at your direction. So Duck in Our Village talks about that. It talks about an energetic and walkable experience in the village. And then emphasis here also on protecting and preserving the village's unique character. Duck is, as you know, very unique, and we certainly want to maintain that. The next of the strategic pillars is enhanced movability. So we're a pedestrian-first community. We've had a lot of conversations about that, how we're focused on walking and cycling. That's not only in the village, but really everywhere in town. And the town's made significant investment in pedestrian and bike accommodation, particularly in Duck Trail. So to have that facility that runs the whole length of this community is a big deal, and something that the town has been focused on for a number of years. And it's all about promoting a variety of ways to explore and discover duck, and the less we force people to get into their automobile to explore duck, the better, because that's just less vehicles that others that are coming through have to contend with. And then we also talk about optimizing our traffic flow. You all have had a lot of conversations about traffic and what we can do about that. We've come up with very few alternatives. We're confined to obviously just that one route through town. So, but something that we need to keep in mind as we look at goals. Enhanced movability. Environmental stewardship is obviously very important to the folks here in town. This talks about a conscious respect. So a conscious respect for the fragile and extraordinary environment that we have here. So we want to be sure that whatever we're doing doesn't impact negatively the natural environment that we all get to enjoy. Talks about uninterrupted beaches, which are our most valuable asset. This town has made significant investment in beach nourishment. So that's trying to protect that natural asset. And then talks in here environmental stewardship about resilience and adaptability. You all have heard a lot and done a lot of work on projects, trying to get projects done to address some resiliency in the community, and we know that those will happen. And I think we're all looking forward to cutting the ribbon on the brick project once that finally gets done. Joe will be there with a big pair of scissors to help with that. We have an active and engaged community as the next of the pillars. So DUC is built on participation. We are, I believe, a fairly transparent local government. We do a lot to reach out to all of our stakeholders, not just focused on the people that own and live in DUC, but the people that are property owners that may not live in the community, and people that are visiting are also stakeholders. So we certainly want to continue to be inclusive and invite people to participate. Want people to feel connected, as this says here, and goes back and talks again about preserving the unique nature of this special place. Then the next of the pillars is a vibrant, thriving business community. In here we talk again about the DUC experience. So not having the formula or chain businesses that predominate the landscape in our village. Are very unique shopping and dining experiences here. And just talks about how the business community plays an important role in the community and in making DUC a special place. And then it comes to the last of them is the responsive and responsible leadership. So this is y'all, and then by extension, your staff. So it's maintaining a responsive and responsible government. There's an expectation that the elected and appointed folks here in town will work together, and from my perspective, I think we do that incredibly well. We work well together, and that's a testament to the leadership of this council. And then we talk about having a staff empowered to execute the town's objectives. So we feel once we have direction from you, which some of what we're going to get today, and then we'll get into the budget, and that's where you authorize expenditures to carry your objectives out. We feel that we're empowered just to go ahead and get that done. We don't have to check with you when we need to buy a box of paper clips, for instance. We can just go and do that. And then we talk about DUC being innovative in the Outer Banks region. I believe that we are. Having the village preserved the way it is and how it's been improved, particularly in terms of the walkability with the bike lanes, sidewalks, and the boardwalk, really set DUC apart, certainly on the Outer Banks and really on the coast here in North Carolina. And then talks here about continuity of leadership, which certainly helps preserve the established values and the vision of the community. So people that have been here for a while understand where DUC has been, gets the direction about where DUC is going. And it's always good to reflect on where we've been as we're kind of charting the course going forward. So those are the 6 pillars that we talked about. So I think in one of the emails that I sent to you, and I unapologetically send you the homework to do in advance of this type of meeting because I really want to get the thinking going. We refer to these as buckets. So we hope that each of the goals, so the 3 to 5 year goals that I'm about to talk to you about, one of the great things about the process that we just went through with Tyler is we actually put those goals in buckets, in one of these 6 buckets. Whereas in the past, the goals had been there, but they really hadn't been tied to one of these strategic pillars. So the fact that we've done that, and then today, when we get into some of the next level goals that we'll talk about today, we're also going to ask you to think about what bucket do they fall in? What strategic pillar does that help prop up? So again, I'm not going to read these to you, but each one of the strategic or the pillars that has goals assigned to it. And you'll recall those from your time with Tyler. So the Duck in Our Village, again, I'm not gonna read through these. Hopefully you're thinking about today and what you want to bring forward as some of the goals today will reflect the 3 to 5 year goals. Because ultimately our path forward should be whatever we're doing should tie to these. All right, these are the goals you've set. You've got these priorities, strategic priorities that you've set. Everything we do should be directly tied to one of these 3 to 5 year goals or fit very neatly in one of these buckets. If it doesn't, that's when you really need to have a conversation. It goes back to, are the buckets right? Or is what we're trying to do not what we should be focused on? We said, these are the things we're going to focus on for the next 3 to 5 years. Whatever that is, isn't in that list. So maybe we need to pass on that until we reset. So you've got the 3 to 5 year goals. Again, I'm not going to read them. Were there any questions that came up about the goals? I know it's been a while since you've established them. Or any discussion about those? You're still pretty happy with them as you've had a chance to reflect on them? I'm seeing some head nods. All right. So again, I'm not gonna read them. Hopefully the juices got flowing about these. Is anything anyone wanted to discuss? We good so far? Good.
I mean, the most important one I see there is population growth, and we got to pay attention to that because it's happening and it's going to continue to happen, and we have to be prepared to handle that.
Yeah, so the shift in demographic is what you're kind of talking about, from having more non-resident property owners to having more resident property owners?
Correct.
Yep, it is. I mean, we need to be thinking about how to serve the community year round, and are there different types of programming we need to do and that kind of thing.
I mean, I think we're pretty good about serving the community year round, regardless of the size of the population, but there are some adjustments that we're going to have to make as far as infrastructure and things like that, because it's going to just be more people, and we can't add that in and not think about doing that better.
I think along those same lines too, if you look back, responsive and responsible leadership, item number 4 kind of ties into that same theme about the demographic change.
Yeah.
And goes right along with what he's talking about, population change and growth.
Okay. So what you've done is you've created the vision, which is that that top layer. You've created your strategic priorities, which are the next layer down, so kind of the bigger picture, the bigger buckets. And then you've got 3 to 5 year goals, which is the next layer. What we're going to create today is the next layer down, which are really very actionable things that you want to accomplish in the next fiscal year. That's the primary focus of, at least for me and for our team, is what is it you want to accomplish? Because they need to know, the department directors need to know what to ask for in their budget requests. Because hopefully what they're asking for furthers your goals. That's our goal anyway. So we're going to talk a little bit about SMART goals, just very, very briefly. And I did this last year, but I just want to do it again just to remind us. So SMART is an acronym for specific, measured, achievable, relevant, and timed. So we want the goal to be very specific. Specific without being weedy. So a goal, and I think I used this last year, a goal that would be specific enough is ensure that we have a reliable fleet of police vehicles. Something that would be too weedy is be sure that we have all Toyota Prius that are pink. That's too weedy and very impractical. I think we discussed last year, some of our people just would not fit in a Prius. So,
Easy now.
I wouldn't fit in a Prius. Wouldn't want to. So, and we'll talk about it. If something comes out today, and hopefully you'll give me a little bit of license that if I hear a goal that sounds weedy, that I might say to you, can we bring that up a little bit from getting into the weeds? We don't expect the council to be in the weeds. That's what we do, and that's what we do on your behalf. So we want it to be specific, but not weedy. So it's who, what, where, when, and why. What do you want to accomplish specifically? We want to have it be measured or measurable. So it says here you can't improve what you don't measure. So, are there metrics that can go along to see what success looks like? So a question that may get asked about a goal, that statement that may come out today is, what does success look like? How do we know that we've achieved that goal? And we can check it off. Achievable, we want it to be challenging but not impossible. This is, it's real easy to set goals where you can set the bar so low you can just step over it. I don't believe you've got anybody on your staff that wants a goal that we can just step over. And we want to be able to reach and achieve something that's meaningful. So we want it to be achievable, but we expect there's going to be some challenge to it. Want it to be relevant, so connected to the objectives as we've talked about, and then a completion date, so we want it timed. So, a goal, in the next year, we want to have funded a study to study the feasibility of the west side duck trail from Aqua to the Southern Shores line. That's very specific, it's actionable, it's timed. Any questions about those?
No, I would just comment that a strategic goal could be anything from initiating to completing, anything in that range. So, but they could all be timed. But I mean, those qualifiers, anything from initiated to completed, right. I would assume, and not tactical in nature.
True, yes. Good? Wow. Your turn to talk. So like we did last year, we're going to go around the room or across the table. I'm going to have each of you state and briefly explain one idea and tell us what bucket to put it in. Melissa and Jessica are going to be up at the flip charts and they're going to write down your ideas. Like we said last year, this is not the time to advocate. It's similar to brainstorming, right? So just throw the idea out, say, let's put it in this bucket. The bucket may change when you have your discussions a little later on. Again, no, you don't need to advocate. Throw it out there. There's not going to be any discussion. If Mr. Mooney says X, Mr. Sciano's not going to say, yeah, that's a dumb idea. No dumb ideas. We'll put up what people come out with, and then we'll have the conversation among yourselves as you negotiate a little bit, if you will, on where the goals belong and kind of the relative importance. So we're going to go one to the next. Plan is for 3 rounds, but this is your meeting. If it takes more than that to get them, great. We'll keep doing it. Again, we'll fill the buckets up. And then we'll come back and we'll do some discussing and conferring. So I'm going to ask you to give your idea. And then, like I did last year, if you'll allow me a little license to work with you on the wording a little bit, we'll get them so it's really pretty clear on the flip charts. So because Mr. Mooney is on my left, we'll start with you.
All right, then.
Drew, can we combine, like, for instance, if Rob puts something up there, and then I have the same thing, but maybe a couple different words, will we consolidate those up there or separate?
So, yeah, we can kind of marry them together. You know, if one builds on another, that's great. If Rob says, you know, buy pink police cars, and Tony said, well, that was my idea, he doesn't have to say the same thing. Don't say that.
Oh, boy. Pink police cars. I actually had to get in a Prius one
Do you
time.
want me
It
to
was not
start it?
fun.
Do you want me to kick it off, Rob?
Say again?
I mean, how do you want to kick it off?
Go ahead.
Okay.
No,
Well, the one question I have that is sort of a much bigger goal, I think, that we can participate in. I think it's something that the state is working on, is to improve the internet infrastructure here, because with this burgeoning population and people are going to be moving in here, the vast majority of them are going to be working from home. And sometimes the internet works and sometimes it doesn't. And so I know that the whole state is interested in improving that situation, and what can we do to try to lobby for that or to help it along, as it were. Not sure which bucket that might go in, but I'm going to say probably the vibrant and thriving business community is the most likely place.
okay. So why don't, we can put it there. How about seek opportunities to advocate for and partner in?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get with people from the state that are trying to enhance this thing and throw our support behind that as much as we can, because, you know, while I think what you're talking about with vibrant and thriving business community is the retail stuff that exists in this town, but you're going to have, with a growing population, you're going to have a business community that doesn't have a sign in front of it. You know, you're going to have people that are going to be working from home and trying to make their living over the internet. And so something needs to get better with that. I mean, we're kind of held hostage by Spectrum for the most part, but
Does that wording sound good to you? Advocate for and partner in improvements in broadband infrastructure?
yeah.
You got that? So partner in, or advocate for and partner in improvements in broadband infrastructure. So advocate for and partner in improvements in broadband infrastructure. You're not going to say that was a bad idea, right? No, okay, thanks. I was just giving you a thumbs up.
We're going to go right down the table here.
Yes, sir, please.
All right. My next one's kind of a two-part. Maintain or grow the fund balance and either no or minimal tax increase under responsible leadership.
Yeah, so,
Maintain or grow the fund balance.
maintain or grow the fund balance.
No or minimal tax increase.
Anything to say with no or minimal tax increase? Yep. Okay. Mr. Whitman.
Monitor and understand the impacts of our changing demographics, which is part of Rob's too.
So monitor and
Understand the impacts of the changing
monitor,
demographics.
understand our impacts of our changing demographics. You want to suggest a bucket? Is that in terms of how we engage with our stakeholders,
That or
or is it under leadership?
I think it's under leadership. It was leadership last time, but we
Okay.
still have to, we think we have to maintain it still.
So state it again.
Monitor and understand the changing demographics of our town, population.
So monitor and understand the changing demographics of our town.
Can we qualify that a little bit?
Sure, when we have discussion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so kind of two issues that I think blend into one. I'll talk for a second and then try to solidify it. But we've got the public safety building, and we've got our relationship with the Corps of Engineers. I think the two, at least in the short term, are intimately entwined. I feel we're treading a little bit of water here, and I think we need to solidify what we're going to do. Do we really want to do the public safety building, and can we somehow break through and improve our relationship with the Corps of Engineers? Where does that go?
That's a great question, Mr. Shiano. Where would that go? I think,
Chart 7.
yeah, I would think that we would put that under the leadership, responsible leadership. So let's, with your permission, let's split that
Okay.
into two, because I think
Each one can stand on its own.
right, because I think, the relationship with the core, independent of that,
Could do other things good
is
for
pretty
us,
critical
right.
too.
Yeah,
So
I'm okay with that.
maintain and enhance strong working relationship with the U.S. Army Corps of
How
Engineers.
about
FRF.
establish? Because I don't know that we have one.
Okay, we can put establish, and then I can talk to you about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. Or enhance.
And then the other piece of that is just do something.
Yeah, I mean, let's bring this to a head. It's like, do we really want to, need to do this? And what's our timetable? And what do we need to get done so we can make it happen? Or, you know what, let's table this for 3 years, or whatever.
Don't panic, Chief. So aggressively pursue the construction/renovation of the public safety facility.
Yeah, do we have a decision that it must be done? I mean, if we're.
I can tell you without reservation, we need to do something because the building is
Okay, then let's.
at the end of its life.
Okay, so then let's put that, pursue aggressively.
Yeah. So it's aggressively pursue construction/renovation of the public safety facility. Back to Mr. Mooney.
Well, that was a trick question. I think under responsive and responsible leadership, and this is just my opinion, and I know that we've argued about this on different topics in the past, but we need to be really, really more attuned to the safety aspect of things that happen, or things that are asked for, or things that are going to be developed. I think that our last go-around, especially with the Resort Realty property, to me, there's a lot of loose ends there that are not safe for the public. I mean, especially we're pushing this as a pedestrian-friendly, walkable community, and it seems to me that the entrance and exit, whole business in that location is just a place where potentially something really bad is going to happen. So that's got to be a more prominent consideration, in my opinion.
Do you think that ties to enhanced movability? So I'm just trying to think how to word this. So you want to carefully consider the unintended impacts of changes in development pattern? Does
Sounds good to me.
that sound government enough for you?
Yeah.
Just enough to not make sense?
No, okay, yeah, it definitely will fit in there.
So carefully, what did I say? What did I say?
We need to be more mindful of the safety
Yeah,
aspect.
carefully examine carefully consider the unintended impacts of changes in development.
Sounds good.
Is that what you meant to say?
Well, it'll do.
It'll do.
Impacts of development?
Unintended impacts of changes in development. Mr. Mayor?
This one probably goes under leadership also. Continue to pursue opportunities for land acquisition to expand town facilities.
Explore what?
Yeah. Go for it.
Can you repeat it?
Continue to pursue opportunities for land acquisition. For town facilities.
I know that's in one of our 3 to 5 year goals, and I was trying to find which bucket it was in, but we're good. Mr. Whit-
Maintain the maintenance of our town assets.
Sorry.
Excuse me. Maintain the maintenance of our town assets.
Okay, so we'll use one of your 3 to 5 year goals, and I'm trying to remember so it's aggressive. We use the term in your 3 to 5 year goals. We use the word aggressively. So aggressively maintain town assets. And I'm trying to remember someone that's got the 3 to 5 year goals in front of them that's on the team. Could you see where that is, and we'll figure out what bucket that goes in. Okay, so that's an active, engaged community, Melissa. So that will be aggressively maintain. Yeah. So aggressively maintain town facilities. Yep. Yep. Okay, Mr. Xiang?
Yeah, I would like to see us develop a structured, unstructured communication process for town residents, property owners, with the council and maybe staff members, maybe at the best times whenever it's appropriate. I mean, you probably wouldn't do it in the summer because there's a lot of people who are just passing through, but in the appropriate times, coffee with the council or something, or coffee with the staff, where people can come, and unlike the public comment situation, it's more of a dialogue. This is what I'm thinking, or what are you thinking when you did that, or whatever, and just have time to meet with everybody in a casual environment. It could be the chief of police or fire, it could be a council member, it could be more than one council member, it could be you, or whatever. But just give people an opportunity to come in an informal environment and meet the people and hear some things.
Okay, so that would probably be an active, engaged community.
Yeah.
So I like the way you put that. Structured, but
Structured,
unstructured.
yeah, communications.
Opportunities for communication
Yeah,
with council and staff.
yeah,
So structured, but unstructured.
right.
opportunities for communication. And I think that also was something that came out of the discussion with Tyler, the 3 to 5 year goal. So yeah, good. And okay, thank you.
The town and government or employees or?
Meet with council and staff. Thanks. And then Melissa, I'm looking right at Jessica and saying, Melissa, Jessica, we're going to take that continue to pursue opportunities, and we're going to put it under Duck in Our Village, because that's where it is in the 3 to 5 year goals. Is that okay? Just to try to be consistent. That was Mr. Shiano. Mr. Mooney.
All right. So in our 3 to 5 year goals here under the vibrant, thriving business community, I think that we need to have better communication with them about what they need. For instance, when a couple of years ago with COVID, when we allowed people to have the outdoor dining things, my own opinion is I don't see why we wouldn't make that a permanent, use of their land. I don't think that it was intrusive. I don't think that it was a problem. And I think that it enhanced their ability to be a more profitable entity in the town, and that's always good. That being said, while I know we try to maintain a good dialogue with those people, I think that we need to ask those kinds of questions, like what is it that we can do to help make this a more profitable experience for you, rather than trying to regulate things that maybe don't need to be regulated. Good luck with that.
You're really making me think, and you know how hard that can be sometimes. So, develop an improved dialogue with the duck business community.
Yeah.
Does that summarize it, or do you want more in that?
Well, we can certainly talk about it when we're going to have the discussion, but I think that will suffice to start the conversation.
So develop an enhanced relationship or communication dialogue with the duck business community. Did you get that?
Or is it redevelopment? Is it redevelopment?
So it's developing enhanced. So it exists, so we're going to develop an enhanced dialogue. So I think there are opportunities for improvement. Of course, there's opportunities for improvement in just about everything we do.
I think along with that, it's the goal is to find areas of mutual opportunity. You know, it's like, how can we work with them and they work with us to enhance the town, and it's to their benefit and our benefit, whatever that case may be, if it's,
Well, at the end of the day, anything that makes them more profitable is to our benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. But we might also say, well, yeah, and it would be nice if you helped sponsor our jazz festival, and not a quid pro quo.
No, right.
But here's a way for you to get more involved with us and tell us ways we can get more involved with you, et cetera.
Do you think that would, so what Melissa wrote there, develop and enhance dialogue with the business community, so it worked to create that two-way communication?
Right. I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Mr. Mayor?
This one kind of goes to staff, and, we've had some turnover. Last year, we took some actions. I would say we need to basically initiate and/or pursue the competitiveness of our salaries in the town. And I guess that would be under leadership.
Yeah, it's continually, which I want to check in with the mayor, but should I get this right? Continually evaluate our compensation relative to the competitive environment. That makes sense? Continually evaluate our compensation compared to the competitive environment. That sound right?
Yeah, sounds exactly like what I was going to say.
We want to make it sound as governmental as possible. You know, otherwise we're not doing our job if we're not throwing a little bit of confusion in with the words. No, we do want to make it as clear as we possibly can. Okay, Mr. Whitman.
And this is going to go against what Rob said, but enforce our CUPs that we give out to follow up that they are following what they were given permission to do.
So is that primarily focused then on the village, or is that leadership? Which bucket did you?
I guess the village, or the whole town, so.
It really is the whole town. So it'd be probably going to be a leadership.
Yeah, duck and.
Oh, duck and.
The red one.
Can you repeat it? Can you repeat it?
Oh. Enforcing of our CUPs.
Enforce our COPs.
CUP.
Well, it's SUP, so it's special use permits.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to make it a little broader and other ordinances?
Yes, all the ordinances. It doesn't do, Jeff.
Let's make it tougher.
Let's say we'd like a challenge, right? Thanks. Mr. Shadow.
I see that stormwater was already up there.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, yeah, the ones that were up there when you came in, those weren't ones that we made up. Those are actually from Monica, who was not able to be here
Okay,
with us. So
all right.
she gave a little thought and gave us those. So,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
thank
All
you
right,
for reminding me
cool.
about that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Then yeah. I just thought that they were up there because you guys were telling us, yeah, okay.
Oh, no, we start with a clean slate. We don't tell you guys anything.
Yeah, so if I could just piggyback on that one a little bit, because what would be helpful to me is, well, maybe we're too early in the process, but for me, I think I would like to see what that means in terms of what we're going to start with and where we want to end with it, and what the timetable is for it. I mean, do we have an overall arching plan for stormwater management, or are we just taking this ad hoc as a crisis, or, erupts or whatever? I mean, I'm okay if you think that's incorporated.
I think that's probably sufficiently broad but narrow, so we can come back and spend a little more time with the council talking about the RCCP program and what that's doing in those 5 basins, and then what the plan is going into the future. But yeah. Okay. Did you want to throw out another one though?
Well, I mean, I've got some other ones that they're not, I don't know if they're weedy or not, but I know we're going to talk about them at the retreat, so I don't know if we need to raise them here, but I think we've got some town concerns, people concerns we need to listen to, which involve speed limit and beach driving. I don't know whether that comes under environmental or whatever, or whether we even need to put those down, since we do kind of have them on our radar screen.
Yeah, so I would, my only comment to that, and I'm happy to put them up, but they are scheduled for conversation.
Okay.
And hopefully resolution that will not touch your budget.
Right.
Between now and when this fiscal year ends.
Okay.
So, yeah, because it's calendared for you guys to talk about next month, we expect that coming out of the retreat, staff will have direction from council on both of those.
Okay.
And bring back to you at a subsequent meeting.
Okay, I'm good for now then.
Okay. So you didn't have another one?
No, not yet.
I'm good. It's time to start talking.
I am talking. Oh, you want to talk? Mr. Mayor?
Okay, this is one that I would like to see us initiate a study of additional restrooms and parking in the park.
So that's Duck in our village? Yep.
You said parking too, Don?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Said both restrooms and parking.
What was the wording? Initiate?
So initiate studies for additional parking and restrooms in the town park facility, town park. Period. We're back to Mr. Whitman.
I'm down to the bottom of my bucket now.
Bottom, it's scraping the bottom of the barrel?
Yep, explore the sidewalks to the west side.
So,
No, we're looking at Aqua South already. You know, I don't know if we're gonna look for Resort Realty North or see what the feasibility would be.
so wording this, continue to evaluate the feasibility of west side sidewalk from north to south,
Correct.
or south to north, depending on which way you're going.
Either way.
Continue to evaluate the feasibility of expansion of Duck Trail on the west side of NC 12 from town line to town line.
I'm good.
You've tapped out. Mr. Mooney's tapped out.
Pass.
Best.
Wow. All right.
You can tell Monica's not here. Just kidding. Just kidding.
No, we actually, easy. We want Monica to be here. All right, so now, knowing that the group is going to vote on this or, prioritize, this is the chance for you all to discuss. Oh, and thank you. We're done. Thank you. And if we need to, shift buckets, we can do that. Say, well, I'd really like to see this over here or that over there. This is your chance to advocate with one another for your ideas, discuss them. If Mr. Mooney said something you just don't quite understand, ask him. This is the time to do that. So this is just your chance for conversation, and I'm going to stop talking.
Are we going to go through them one by one?
So this is your opportunity. You can, however you want to do them. You can go talk about them one by one. Each person can talk about the ones that they threw out there, however you all want to do it. This is kind of, I will not structure this part of it.
My suggestion would be we go through one at a time and see if anybody wants to add or get an explanation. Because a lot of us had similar goals but didn't put them up there because it was already up there. And it might be easier to read each one and see if there's any enhancement and or change or additions or.
Okay. You want me to facilitate that?
Yeah, I mean, because it's hard for us to read them all.
All right, we'll give Mr. Schiano just a minute. If anyone wants to fill up their coffee or whatever while he's doing that. So while you were gone, we nominated you to, no, I'm just kidding.
No fair.
So what the mayor suggested that we just go through each of these. Last time we did this, I didn't facilitate this, but I'm happy to do that. So what we're going to do is just going to go through each one of them, have you all have an opportunity to chat about it a little bit, and then we'll move on. So the first one is maintain and grow the fund balance with no or minimal tax increase.
Well, that'll make everybody happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just our fiscal responsibility, and as far as I know, we've been doing what we're supposed to do with that, and hopefully we'll continue.
Because we've had a good staff and councils over the years to get it up there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is, the next one is monitor and understand the changing demographic of our town.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, like, you might know this, I don't know, like, how many people are living here year-round now? I know it's more than 2 years ago. I don't know exactly how many, but I suspect it's more. And I think that's good to stay on top of so we understand. And if there are things, discover what things we may or may not need to do to make sure we're meeting the needs of those people. I suspect that for a while that shouldn't be too hard because we've got a staff here that we serve 30,000 people in the summertime. So, you know, I would think, but things could fall through the cracks because we're not used to, you know, as many people being here all the time. So I think that's a good thing for us to stay on top of. And the ancillary stuff that goes with it, like the broadband thing, for example, and, you know, there's probably other things too.
I would add to that, you know, impacts and vulnerability. Example, we had a lot of small beach houses. Now we're getting large, you know, multi-story houses, you know, fire, police, the impacts and the vulnerability of expanding in the town. So I put in there, just add impacts and vulnerability in that study. Are we going to add them to them or what?
Yeah. You know, if you want, so you want to write impacts and vulnerability after that period?
I guess maybe those are qualifiers, but
Okay.
you know, it's one thing to study it, but what are going to, you know, what's the end result?
Right. So that's, yeah. That'll help clarify what understanding means. Yeah. Or understand.
So when we say monitor the changing demographic, we cannot rely solely on things like voter registration rolls, because we have a lot of people here that are much more than part-time residents that don't vote here. They have residences somewhere else, and they're for whatever their reason is, they don't change that. And so we have a lot of people here that we're responsible for that are not on those rolls. And so we have to, you know, and I think that our staff is pretty good about being out in the community and learning who's here and who's not here. So we got to pay attention to that and act accordingly.
Yeah, it's just, you know, a census every 10 years or the changes in the voting roll, that doesn't do everything we need to do, and it tends to put us in a reactive posture rather than being proactive. So, yeah, there are ways to understand, you know, and just we know that we're not going to get highly specific granular data, but you know, through communication efforts and trying to establish two-way communication with the folks that are maybe not living here all the time but are here part-time, and even our visitors, I think it's important for us to understand.
But just like the use of social media, that's another qualifier in there. I mean, social media has changed a lot of the demographics.
Okay. So maintain, okay. Establish and maintain a relationship with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
You tell us how you get to them.
So as far as the folks at the FRF, it's picking up the telephone and calling and speaking with them. We have staff members have very good working relationships with the workers. So the facilities chief there at the FRF, got a good relationship there. We've got solid relationships built around public safety with the folks there. The folks so in ERDIC, which is the next step above the FRF, so they're the group that supervises. They have all the field research facilities report into ERDIC. There's two folks there that are a phone call away. So I know them, they know me, they know Sandy Cross. So we have a working relationship. The unfortunate thing, and I know where this is coming from, the unfortunate thing, that doesn't translate to the people that are needing to make the decisions regarding land lease. The folks that are doing the operational, doing the science, that kind of stuff at the FRF are not the people making those decisions. That one is working its way up through the chain of command into Washington, D.C., because we're asking for a lease longer than they're allowed to authorize at the level of ERDIC.
It's kind of like we need to continue to communicate their mission, because that's the misconception out in the marketplace, in the community.
Yeah, but does anyone else have anything to add? I think you're right. We need to continue to work with them. And I know Kay and then Christian before her, we're trying to communicate out, especially the safety messages related to, to the FRF.
Is the FRF, are they sympathetic and in concert with us as to what it is we'd like to accomplish? Or do you think they're saying, yeah, but then they're saying up there, no?
So the folks at ERDIC are who supervise the FRF, they're thumbs up on it. Okay. So again, it just moves at the speed of the U.S. Army, the bureaucracy of the Army. There is movement, however. So there's, in the last 4 months, there's been a change. So I've got a different contact person now. Had meetings, virtual meetings with them that involve this person who is the chief of the property unit, plus the folks from ERDIC. So things are moving along, and actually council will be able to, you're gonna probably get a request for some additional funding that we're gonna need to move things forward. But that I expect to happen in the next couple of months. So the next, I think ties into this one a little bit. So aggressively pursue the construction or renovation of the public safety building. You will, I'm confident in hearing from one or both of the chiefs during the budget process regarding the need for right now investment in the current facility. You heard from Deputy Chief Bachelet at your council meeting the beginning of this month about a water leak that happened there. They've had some other, one other plumbing related issue. The buildings in places has gotten drafty, where the outside is, you can see the outside from in and vice versa. So it needs investment. If we're, we know that we have to stay there, even if tomorrow we go into contract to design the facility, we're 2.5 years from occupying it. So we need to be sure that the environment is safe and as pleasant as we can make it for our fire and police personnel. So that's, I think last year we had the goal about trying to move this project along. And I think, the qualifier there of being aggressively. We certainly, you'll see some movement on that. We've shortlisted architects, so we're going to be interviewing architects next month, and then we'll be coming to you all with a recommendation on a firm to engage so we can start the design. I believe we can probably start our design for a new building or a renovated building, independent of where the site is. We'll have to see how flexible the architects are, but we need to get somebody under contract to move this project along. So council will be seeing that shortly. So the next, I'm sorry, stop talking, Drew. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
One of the notes I see here somewhere, I forget where I saw it, was exploring alternative locations. Given the glacial pace of negotiation with the Army, we have to try to figure out something that's going to work. And if that means abandoning that location for somewhere new, you know, we're going to spend a lot of money regardless of what happens here with a new building. Would we be better served in finding somewhere else where we can put it in town that we don't have to be concerned about negotiating leases down the road? I don't know. That's way above my pay grade as far as the numbers are concerned.
So do we want to add or append to this, including examining alternate location?
Yeah, sure.
But we do have explore land acquisition for town facilities. That's a goal. And that could be inclusive, including public safety.
We all,
Yeah.
And the Duck and Harbor is the first one.
Yeah, we could. Or yeah. Okay.
can I,
Yeah, if you want to leave it, yeah.
can I ask Donna a question?
Can he ask you a question?
How many years have we been at this? Have the council and the staff been at a new firehouse?
As far as the new building, talking about the new building, so we just met this week, and they reported out to us, RRMM did, in 2017 with a full report. A needs assessment report, and actually that was shocking to us. We always think in 3 to 5 year terms, and we'll be in the 10-year term if we started today, so.
I do remember the sketch plans that came, sketch layouts, I shouldn't say plans, for space allotment. And I didn't remember how long ago that was.
2016, 2017. Yeah, so it definitely was not yesterday.
Do we also have a financial analysis that goes with that, that tells us what it would cost, how we would think we would pay for it, and what impact it might have on budget and tax rate and all that sort of thing?
There was a number tacked to that in 2017 that we've been inflating a little bit in the capital improvement plan.
Right.
Try to remember what number we've hung on that right now at 8. I think we're right now in the CIP, and I try to remember in my mind what that was. I think it was around 8 is what we're predicting now. The financing of that, it'll depend on the term.
Right.
So, likely some sort of an installment finance that if we can, I have not run the numbers to see what, I've kind of looked at what debt service would be, but haven't really got it down to where I want it to be as far as being able to say to council, well, this is the way we're going to do it, but probably a 10-year installment finance that keeps it drives your payment up a little bit, but reduces your overall interest cost. Right. The other option that we would explore if we needed to for a lower annual payment is to use some sort of a bond issue. because at 8 million, you could probably justify the issuance cost to do that. Some sort of it would be a general obligation bond, so that would be voted debt. So the voters would have to approve that. Then the next one is continually evaluate our compensation comparatively to other towns. I know from conversations that I have with, especially with our public safety chiefs, this is something that we need to be paying attention to, and not only for public safety, but for all of our personnel, to be sure that we're compensating appropriately in the market. So I don't remember who put that up. The mayor, I guess, put that up there. But anyone have anything they wanted to add to that?
I think that's important.
Didn't we do an
just do it.
evaluation with that last time around? Didn't we do some sort of evaluation with that last time around, right?
Right. So I think it was just as I was getting here, Becky Veazey was finishing up a pay and class study.
Right.
What we'll do, and we need to continue to do, is get current data from our competitors and see.
Weren't we one of the highest 3 years ago? And now we're starting to drop down from the numbers I see out there that they put in their advertisements.
We were in the ballpark 3 years ago in most cases. So there is one municipality that we're not going to touch, and we know that. There are others that we need to be sure that we're at least competitive with, and the other towns in the county are all continuing to make adjustments in their compensation. I don't, it'd be great if we were the top, but I'd really settle for being really solid in the range. The last thing you want to do is be the one at the bottom.
Yeah.
We're fortunate we have really good, high-quality staff that seem to be very pleased with their work environments. So we'll continue to focus on culture, but we also need to be sure the compensation catches up with that too. Okay. So enhanced movability, this was Monica's, which is brick grant implementation. So anyone have anything to add to that? Obviously, we're still waiting on go from again, it's the federal government, waiting on the final approval so we can get this thing out to bid and get it constructed. So anything you wanted to add on that?
So it's not if, it's when. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, everything we've been told is the money is sitting there with Town of Duck's name on it. It's just they need to check all of their boxes before they say, okay, Duck, go ahead and spend the money.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's a reimbursing grant, so we're not going to sit around and wait for them to send us a check before we start. But as soon as they say everything is good to go, because we can't let the contract prior to authorization. Right. So once we have authorization, we're going to be ready to go. I think this is Monica's also, right? So continued maintenance and improvement of the existing trail. So it's the Duck Trail. Mm-hmm. All right. Carefully consider the unintended impacts of changes in development. You want to add, subtract, multiply, divide that one? Or you want to rest on what you said earlier?
I'm going to rest on what I said earlier.
All right. Continue to evaluate the feasibility of Duck Trail expansion. That's on the west side. North to south.
I think that's important, really, especially southward, for sure south. I mean, that would be, I think, the priority is the south, heading south.
All right, anyone have anything else on that? Then we're going to go to Duck in Our Village, continue to pursue opportunities for land for town facilities. And so that we understand that from your conversation, and you all understand that to mean land for all town facilities, so whatever that may be, including public safety. Okay. Enforce our, could change that, if you wouldn't mind, just so I don't trip up, we change that C to an S. So enforce our special use permits, because that's what right, Joe? They're called special use permits?
Special use permits. Yeah.
So SUPs and our ordinances. Thanks, Jasmine.
The question is, do we have a mechanism in place to follow up on decisions that were made and permits that were granted, apart from Steve being busier than he needs to be?
So as far as the conditions of special use permits, that falls more back to our planning staff. So that's Sandy and Jim under Joe's direction.
And do you guys go out and actually make sure that things that have been approved are adhered to, or that they don't exceed whatever's been directed?
We do not have we don't have an annual inspection program or anything like that. And maybe that's where this is headed, where we'd actually do something more proactive than reactive. At the guidance of our leadership in years past, we have been instructed to act when we get a complaint, but don't go actively seeking things. So this may result in a change to that. We would do something more proactively like we do with fire inspection.
Yeah, I think we need to be a little bit more proactive. I don't necessarily think that we need to go out and inspect every place under the sun, but if we've granted a permit for X, Y, Z, we should be looking to make sure it's not, X, Y, Z, and then back to the beginning of the alphabet again. We don't want the people doing stuff that they just determine as part of what was granted rather than what was actually granted.
Right. So
I mean, if we have a permit, right? If somebody comes in and applies for a permit and we do all the things that we normally do and it gets granted, then there should be follow-up afterwards to make sure that that is adhered to.
And I'm going to look at Joe for the answer to this one. So someone comes in, gets a special use permit to build something, and they have to have 32 parking spaces with that. Before they get their CO, someone's looking at all the conditions before.
We have an immediate inspection at the end of that initial development process. But where I think where some of the questions or issues are coming up are things that are occurring years later, might be a year, 2 years, 10 years down the road where somebody has done something without permission that exceeds what they were permitted to do. So we have an immediate inspection at the end of a project, but beyond that is where I think we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. And I think this probably ties pretty well to having the enhanced dialogue with the business community. So they're aware that, especially if the direction we're getting is to shift from what is now more of a reactive posture, post-development approval. So once the development is done, construction is done, and they get their CO, we're talking about the years down the road to be more proactive than reactive, is if that's the direction we're getting. So. And I think that requires then some communication, because we don't want to go out and be the bad cop all the time. But there are, to be sure, there are some folks that need to be
Times you have to
reminded.
be.
Yeah, and there's some folks that will take advantage of good cop.
Yep.
All right, so I think, anything else on that one? And then, so this will tie in a little bit to, no, I'm reading the wrong one. Come over here, Drew. Initiate studies for additional parking and bathrooms in the town park. Anything we want to add to that? That came out of the session with Tyler, too.
Yeah. I don't want to put that up there. I think we contribute to the parking problem in this town. I think we need to address that somehow. Perhaps we need to look for more space in this town park for parking. I also think, we put a lot of stress on these bathrooms here. I think that for concerts and all those summer events, I think we need an additional, maybe it's an outlying building, but I think we need an additional restroom. So that's my thought process there.
Okay.
I think that's appropriate for us to do. I mean, we've got, unfortunately, we don't have a plethora of land. So I think we need to just keep our eyes open all the time to make sure that, we're either through what we know is coming or what we might want to do, we're kind of maximizing what happens in light of our, our principles here. I mean, we might, yeah, okay, that's good enough.
Okay. So under thriving business community, advocate and partner in improvement, advocate for and partner in improvements for broadband infrastructure.
Does anybody on our staff sort of act as like a state legislative liaison? Somebody that can call up who needs to be called up and have things pushed
I guess that's
on a state level.
all other duties is assigned.
Somehow I knew that.
So, I through the, working with the league and, attending those events, and certainly I know that the league is pushing broadband pretty hard, so statewide. I mean, there are a lot of places in the state that have zero.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate that we have we have a couple of different options for broadband here. There are places with none, and that was really thrust to the fore. I mean, it was talked about prior to the pandemic, but it was really thrust to the fore during the pandemic when the state said to all the school kids, go home and learn from home, and they're going, how do we do that without the infrastructure? But I think in your comments earlier were, focused on, there are people that are running a business here that don't have a shingle or a sign out front that require high-speed internet, and it needs to be reliable if they're going to be running a business. So I think we can still have a voice in the advocacy through the league and through conversations with our senator and with our representative at the state level to be sure that even though we have some, that the more options we can have, the better.
We got no money out of the last grant, correct? I mean, they put money out for broadband, but this county wasn't included.
Right, because this county has the infrastructure in place. As, when you look regionally, there are counties around us that it doesn't exist. And that's where it really rightfully needs to go first. But yeah, we still need to be sure, I think, what Mr. Mooney's saying, we just need to continue to have a voice and a seat at the table to be sure that we're advocating for DACA as well. Does that sound right to you? All right, develop and enhance dialogue with the business community.
Find out what they want. Tell them what we can give them.
Yeah. What can we do? What can we do to support their goals? And I guess part of that is communicating what our goals are, and then how can we align with one another? Yeah. And I know
Is
Kay and Betsy.
Is that something that could be facilitated through the Business Alliance?
Yeah, so I know Betsy has had a meeting recently with the DCBA, and they're really starting to trying to get some momentum built up. So they have a new president this year. I think he just took over. So I believe that we'll see some shifts there, and I think working with their leadership, we can certainly hear from them, and they can, what can we do to support you, and then kind of what's the flip side? What can the business community do to further your vision and your strategic goals? So under active and engaged community, so this is public communications, and that's with businesses, vacationers, and residents. This came from Monica, so and I think you've heard her in meetings here before talk about needing to continually improve our communication, pushing information out to businesses and the vacationers and our residents. And then I know that the K is also going to be focused on not only just pushing information out, but getting information back, and getting the dialogue really with our stakeholders. And then this was also from Monica, education on recycling and trash, recycling and trash pickup in general. And then she talked a little bit had a specific thing about creating SMS or text messaging, which we do now. So you can get a text. You can get a text when when trash day is going to happen, and more importantly, if it's going to be delayed. Monica was and I've already passed this on to Kay, looking for is there a way for rental agencies to have a pass-through of that information to their visitors? Because a weekly renter is not going to sign up for OBX alerts. They're not going to do that. So is there a way? So that challenge is squarely on Kay's plate, but certainly a goal worth pursuing. Anything else on that from folks? The next one is aggressive.
Well, time out. Tony, didn't you a while back make a suggestion about a townwide roll-in, roll-out service?
We talked about it, and it was kind of an expensive proposition, if I remember. It added a bit to the mill rate, and so we kind of put that behind us, and at least for now, for sure. But we did talk about trying to find ways to stay on top of, the issue. I mean,
and initially, when Mr. Whitman put this one up about the enforcing our special use permits, I suggested appending onto that and ordinances. So that's enforcing our trash ordinance is just one of those things that I know that I've communicated with Joe. We need to have conversation about what that mechanism looks like and how we're going to do that, because we need to start reminding people that we have ordinances and what they are. And going back to what we said before, good cop only works so long. I mean, you need to be the bad cop, and you need to once you send someone a notice saying it's going to cost you $50 this time because you forgot to roll your trash can back, word gets out. So we still want to try to communicate. We still want to try to work with people, but ultimately we need to enforce the ordinances that are there or change them. Next one is aggressively maintain town facilities. And so, and you all understand this, so by, aggressive maintenance comes back to you all, because we're going to say, we need money too. Because maintenance, for the most part, doesn't come free. So, those are the kind of things that when we're coming in at budget time and saying we need X, Y, and Z, we're going to tag that goal, saying this is why we want to do that. Anything else about that one?
The biggest thing that comes to mind for me with that one is, I mean, I think we maintain the most obvious stuff, you know, very, very well. But I think what we did was we've got our, you know, our crosswalk bike trails, and we've got those plantings in between. And those are really hard to, you know, to keep up for a whole lot of reasons. But when you're driving through, it's very obvious when, like, you know, you've got those grasses planted and 5 of them are living and the next 30 are dead, you know. And I think we should have, at least explore some sort of a system where those get maintained or attended to more frequently than just in the beginning of the season and the end of the season. Because people are coming here all the time, and, you know, we want it to look nice all the time, every day. So, I mean, I think a little more attention to those type of things, assuming it doesn't cost us $10 million to do it, you know, would go a long way. Because I don't think we let this building go or the office or anything like that. But sometimes it's the little details like that.
And I think you'll see that, you know, we're in the process now of getting the request for proposal done, because there's 3 separate contracts, and those are up for renewal in this coming fiscal year. So we're tuning up the spec, and then we're also tuning up the accountability to the spec. So rather than a contractor just getting a check that month, we're actually going to check to be sure the work got done.
Yeah.
And got done properly. So
Right.
Otherwise, we just won't issue payment.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we understand, and I think, and that's why I think that was, I appreciated hearing that goal come out of the time with Tyler, and I really appreciated having it here, because we do need to focus on maintaining what the taxpayers have already paid for.
Right.
And maintaining it to the standard that you all expect.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
neighbors expect. So, you know, we're not, you know, just getting by doesn't get by. We know that we need to elevate the duck experience a little bit, and that helps.
We have a large exposure dollar-wise between the boardwalk and what we have here, and what we spend on maintenance is very little over the years.
Yes.
And our buildings and the boardwalk are all getting towards the 10-year, at the lowest 10-year mark.
Right. Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of value and asset there that we need to protect. Absolutely. And then the next one under, anyone else have anything on that? Next one is structured but unstructured opportunities to meet with council and staff.
Is that what you'd call a town hall meeting up north?
Well, and Mr. Shiano will correct me on this. I'm thinking it's more of a coffee with a councilman. So no more than 2 can be in the room, because otherwise it's just a public meeting, and your attorney will tell you you can't do that. And a staff member, so maybe it's coffee with a couple of council members and the police chief or the town manager. I think this came out of the time with Tyler as well. And it's just a matter of getting that kicked off. And
Yeah, I mean, and we
Kay's giving me the thumbs up. She's
and we
got
may
it.
find that there's no interest in it. Or we may find that, hey, it's a really good vehicle and let's continue it, you know?
And yes, there may be no interest, and it may be that 2 councilmen and the police chief and the town manager sit around and look at each other over a cup of coffee for an hour. But
I'm sure we'll talk about something of
Yeah.
interest, right?
But at least it's done, and it's an effort that we're trying to make. And I think there will be some interest.
Yeah, I
to
do
have
too.
a casual conversation. You know, I know sometimes if I get to go to Mr. Whitman's office early in the morning on the front porch of the coffee shop, a lot of business gets done there. It's not town business, but it's that exchange of information.
Exchange of ideas or whatever, or, yeah, I mean,
The only caution is consistency of messaging, that's all. I mean, you got the public coming to 5 different people, you know, we certainly want consistent messages coming out of council.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as long as if we get some unanimity on the goal, kind of what the goals are, and that's the kind of conversations, and then, you know, if I, as a citizen, come in and sit down with Mr. Shiano and I throw some really weird stuff at him, he can just say, okay, I'm a vote. I need to bring it back to the rest of the council.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't, and I think, you know, as elected official, you know, you're not going to sit there and say, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
No, right.
Yeah. Right.
I guess you're out of your mind too, is that's not an appropriate response.
Well, it depends, I guess. And then environmental stewardship, there was the one, so it's stormwater management programs, and that, you know, that's I think we framed that a little bit when we talked about it earlier. So it's the RCCP, so the Resilient Coastal Communities Program that we're working through now with the 5 drainage basins, and then kind of what's next, what's beyond that.
Yeah.
More of this, you know, the whole systematic look at stormwater. Did we cover, so we covered them all. Was there anything else that during this conversation you said, darn it, I wish I had put blank up on the, cool. If not, vote. So each of you has in front of you 6 dots and 1 star. So the idea is to put a dot next to what you think is important. If you think something is 6 times important, you can use all 6 of your dots on one. Place the star next to the one that is the most important to you. So it's one of those, if we do nothing else, we need to do this. So vote away. Any questions?
No. By next year, we'll be really good at this.
You're really good at it this year, so I appreciate it.
So you want us to just walk around and put them up on the board? Yeah, okay. Same place?
No, different.
Ran out of stickers.
There's family and then there's family, and yeah. And your dots don't even show. That's awesome.
It's when you start counting, then you'll have to start looking.
You had a chance to color on this year. And my meeting was
Thank you. Dots.
My wife says you'll never be a watchmaker.
So that architect that did this job should have taken sat right in Steve's seat. Need two more.
And Steve said,
Now, Steve's still gone.
oh, is he?
I missed a whole week of freedom.
Have you heard from him at all? I think with him in the, kind of in the driver's seat of the DCBA, we should be able to get some, at least get some momentum, because it's just been kind of languishing.
You know, you talk about having meetings with the businesses. I've gone to those meetings probably for 8 to 10 years. It's the same people.
Yep.
And some of the people aren't even business owners, they're just community people that come in and sit to see what they have to say.
I really think that dialogue, that is not going to be, DCBA will be an important thing, but that's going to be Joe and I going out and meeting, say, hey, can we sit down and talk?
We had that in the association. We did that first literally. We had that dialogue every month with them, with the AMA. So they would give us ideas. We would have different, we would bring people, they would respond to questions that they asked you, like the health department, or I would be there to talk about science or, things like that. So they had that for a long time with the DMA, but when that,
Just crumbled.
when that fell apart, we lost a lot of that direct communication.
Last year, we took some time and tallied them up here, and that got a little bit clunky. Going back and looking at the video of it, it was like 15 minutes of nothing. So we'll go back and we'll tally these up and share them with you. Gonna send this, we'll send the goals absent any of the dots, and we'll send that to Monica and say, put your dots on 6 things and your star on 1. So she won't have the advantage of the conversation, but she can at least weigh in somewhat. Just looking at this, so 3 stars, so 3 out of 4 stars. The most important thing is to maintain and grow the fund balance with no or minimal tax increase. So that's obviously a fairly common goal, consensus goal of the council. Public safety building's got 3 dots on it. Parking and restrooms. Who colored outside the lines? Oh, it's the blue dot.
Of course it was me.
It's got 4 dots on it. The demographics got 3. Initiating the studies for parking and bathrooms has got 3 on it, 3 dots. I'm just looking for the bigger ones. Stormwater's got 2. Maintaining facilities has got 2. Am I missing a star?
Yeah.
Oh. You're just messing with me, aren't you?
It's just too easy.
That's one in every crowd. And it's, yeah, so the enforcement's got 2 dots and a star. Okay. Reactions from the council, any surprises there? I mean, y'all voted, so it's going to be a whole lot of surprise.
I don't think there's any surprises, but we could probably use more than 6 dots.
So, and just because it doesn't get a dot doesn't mean it falls off. I mean, as you saw from last year's, we will record all of them, and they'll all be considered as something that's important, or at least important enough to have mentioned in this setting. You know, I'm not surprised that aggressively maintaining the town facilities didn't get more dots, actually, because I think I talked too much about that. You probably realize that, well, heck, they're going to do that anyway. So,
Well, I mean, I think that answer applies to both aggressively maintain that stuff and the fund balance thing. We're going to do that anyway, you know.
yeah, just what we're going to stay really focused on. So I'm going to look at the department directors. Any surprises, comments, questions, wisecracks? No. Wisecrack?
Honestly, I'd say no real surprises. I think, we get to sit in front of you all the time and hear your thoughts on things continuously. So nothing came out that I would say I was surprised at. And as far as the rankings, I think they're consistent with what we knew. But this is extremely helpful as we move into the budgeting phase here, as we prioritize our requests.
Yeah, I don't think I'd add anything. This really helps guide us in what we need to tell you, at the retreat and through the budget process. So, thank you.
You don't want to say anything?
Take a picture.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you. And you probably have some final comments, but thanks for taking a little bit of time to do this. And obviously, you've spent some time before you came into this meeting preparing for it. We, as your staff, appreciate this investment of time because it does, from the perspective of the folks that are developing a draft budget for you to consider, this is critical because we get to hear your thinking and try to reflect that in what we bring to you. And I think that was borne out pretty well last year, because last year was the first time we did this, and to see how smoothly the budget process goes, because it gets built around your thinking and not just ours. So appreciate your time and your investment. I'm going to sit down and finish my coffee.
Thank you, Drew. We wish to thank you for putting this together. It's a good exercise. I think what these, dots and stars show a lot of consistency of council. But I think other than that, I think you look at every chart, and I think all the input by council is excellent. And I know they'll all show up on your list, and I think between staff and council, as I say, I think there's a lot of consistency, and of course, a lot of it is up there because of the direction of you and the staff, so we really appreciate that. Any other comments by council?
No.
No, good process, and I think that, you know, you folks are pretty self-motivated, so I don't think we have any issues there, so that's good, yeah.
I'll remind council then the next scheduled meeting will be the regular meeting on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.